Hello, my name is David Baker. I'm the chaplain at the Maury County Jail. I've been a volunteer there over 20 years, and the last 2 years I've been full-time chaplain there. What a blessing to get to help so many people. I want to take a few minutes to tell you about what we've done the last couple of years, show you some pictures. I believe it'll be interesting, and I believe you need to see what's going on there, what we've been able to accomplish, and where we want to go and what we want to do. And we could always use your prayers, encouragement, and support. The first thing is we've just changed the name to Restoration Jail Ministry. It has been Maury Chaplain Ministries for years, but we wanted a name that said exactly what we were doing. So why the name change? Sometimes people would ask us, "Are you at the jail or the hospital or a nursing home?" Because Maury Chaplain Ministries doesn't really say the jail. So Restoration Jail Ministry says what we do. First is we're trying to restore them to God. Okay, restore them to their God, to the Creator, through salvation, forgiveness of their sins, and cleansing for what God has for them in the future, restoring them to God. Number two, we want to restore them to their family, to their moms, their dads, their brothers or sisters, their wives, their children. We want to restore them to their family. And number three, we want to restore them to the community. We want to help them to be a good, productive member of society. We're trying to restore them. That's the purpose of this ministry. My background, how I got into this, I was a rebel in high school. I told my parents I wouldn't live by their rules. I got a party apartment, drinking, drugs, all the rest. Joined the Army, jumped out of airplanes, wild and crazy. It's at Fort Bragg. I started getting back into church, and then God called me to preach, and I said, "There's no way, I'm not doing that." So ran from it, skipped church, went to the beach for the weekend, and God said, "No, you're not," and He put me in jail for the night. That was enough for me to wake me up to realize, what am I doing? And they let me out of jail at 8 o'clock on a Sunday morning. Ran home, took a shower, changed clothes, went to church Sunday morning, back Sunday night, back Wednesday night. And I remember being in jail that night. It sobers you up real quick when they close that door behind you and going, what am I doing here? And I remember wishing there'd been a preacher there to help me, but there wasn't. And later on, a couple months later, when I did surrender to preach, I told God, if you ever give me an opportunity to go to the jail, I'll do it to help those guys. So now for 23, 24 years, I've been going there every week and more to help them. And so that's my background, that's my heart. That's why I do this. Bible college, I met my wife. We've been married for 28 years, just a great completer and great wife. She also serves at the jail. She's one of the lady speakers and mentors and helping them there, and thank God for her. And then we have 11 children. Yes, 11 children. And we love it. Wouldn't trade it for the world. Wouldn't trade it for anything. I may sell a couple of the kids, but I wouldn't sell them. I wouldn't trade them for your kids. That's a joke. Okay. My wife hates that joke, by the way. Then 11 children, we love them. It is a lot of fun to get to serve the Lord with our family. We also have 2 grandbabies. They are exciting, and 1 on the way, and thank God for them. These are my parents. I grew up in Santa Fe. We moved away when I was a kid when DuPont left and sold to Spontex. My dad just turned 80, and I was the rebel, and now I get to serve the Lord with my mom and dad. And I love to use that illustration for moms who are worried and praying for their kids. Is there hope? Yes, there is. I broke my mom and dad's heart for years, and God turned that around, and we get to serve the Lord together now. This is my oldest son. He's 27. He works with me at the jail. He's worked with me for years, helping guys on the outside, and now he gets to work back there with me, and a great blessing to have an assistant who understands the heart and what these guys need. So what we want to do is restore them, first of all, to God. How do we do that? One way is through a book. I wrote a book called I'm Never Coming Back Here. When I was a volunteer, I had 1 hour a week to talk to one group. And there's so much more I wanted to help them with, so I thought if I could write a book and give it to them, that would give them a lot more help. So I was able to get the book done, and we give this away to everyone there. When I was writing the book, I told them, guys, I'll let you pick the title of my book. And they're like, what? I said, what did you say when you left booking for the very first time? Meaning you're getting out of jail, you're getting ready to go home. What did you say? And like in unison, they all say, I'm never coming back here. Guess when they're telling me that? When they're back. Recidivism rates average in the U.S. is about 70% will be back in 3 years or less. Okay? We've been able to change that. We want to change it a lot more. And this book has been very, very helpful to the guys. We give that away for free. If you know someone who's struggling with these things, I'd be glad to get them that book. We sell it to help with the ministry, but if you know someone that needs it, can't afford it, we'd be glad to give it to them like we do in the jail. This was one of the guys who came in. He had been reading the book, and he came and he sat down just like that. He didn't pose for it. I said, can I take a picture of that? He had the book in front of him, and I don't know if you can see it in the picture, but it's dog-eared. He had read it through and underlined and folded pages down, and he said he's not a young man anymore. He said, I wish I'd have had this years ago. This would have saved me so many problems. That's what we want to do, to restore them back to God. We get to counsel with them in the office. We get to have jail revivals. We've had 2 so far, 1 each year, where we bring an evangelist in and preach and go to every pod all the way there. This was the first one. This is a guy with the second one. This guy's a former MMA fighter. He was on The Ultimate Fighter. Super guy, loves God. Been where they've been clean for a long time, straight up shooter with them. This is Joe Grooms, the man with him who does our Financial Peace University class we'll talk about in a minute. This is some pictures from the revival back in the pod. We had to go back there and preach to them, and as you can see, very well received. This is some guys praying, trusting Christ at the end, in some of the small pods and the big pods, everywhere, all in between, misdemeanors, felons, and every person listens and stops when we come in and do this. Then we have weekly services for all the different groups in the pods. We baptize. We have our own baptistry there, and so we are able to set that up at different times to be able to baptize people when they've trusted Christ as their Savior, and what a blessing that is, and the joy that comes from them and following the Lord in baptism. Also the ladies' side, it's my wife and one of the other lady mentors we get to work with. Also classes, restoring them back to God, giving them the classes they need. One is Financial Peace University. Finances are such a big deal. Number one reason people are in jail is alcohol and drugs, addictions. Number 2 is finances. So many times they don't have the finances to pay their bills and do what they need to do. If they can't pay their probation, okay, they're getting violated and they're going back to jail. And so they need to understand financial principles. Most of the time they don't understand what a credit score is and how to buy things. They don't understand how to save, what priorities are, to have a budget, to lay all that out. Dave Ramsey does a great job. We've had 8 classes graduate Financial Peace University. Sometimes people criticize us doing this for them. This does not cost. We get the materials donated, and this does not cost anything for the county, the jail, to do this. But if you could watch this, if you know Dave Ramsey, he does his debt-free scream, and in the introduction of this video program, he asks a guy, hey, what's the last thing you paid off? And the guy bows his head and he says, the last thing I paid off was my restitution. He said, I was a bank robber before and I had this big restitution to pay off. I got on your plan and budget. I was able to pay all that off. When I paid that last restitution payment, it felt like the day I got out of prison. I was free. And when the guys hear that and see that, it's hope for them. They can do this, and it's a great help to them. We thank the Lord so much for the sheriff allowing us to teach this class inside the jail. This is another class. This is Paul Boyd, standing beside my son. He's worked for Dave Ramsey for over 20 years, and Joe Grooms, he's a facilitator for the class. The sheriff and chief will come in and shake their hands and congratulate them. It's another class. Anyway, it's been a blessing. We have other classes there that come in. The top one is Mike Coop with Place of Hope. We partner with them. He teaches an addiction class. We also have guests come in. There's a motivational speaker who had been in prison, had 14 felonies, got his life right. Now he travels around and speaks. He gets $100,000 a speech, and we got him to come in free and give his testimony in the jail. Great session, so well received, and helped the guys that were there. We have Celebrate Recovery. It is an addiction program, a faith-based, Christ-centered addiction program to help them. They graduate from that. We also have a jobs class that we started to help them to get a job, know how to get a job, how to interview, how to do application. All those things are so important to help them. We also have computer classes. We have the top right is a man there where we did this class. It was a entrepreneur class to teach them how to start their own business, and we had different Christian and other businessmen come in and teach them about that. Great blessing, great help to the class to do that. This is a multi-millionaire businessman out of Nashville who's been a friend, and he came in and taught, and they just hung around afterwards and asked questions to be able to help them to how they could start their own business. Next is restoring them to their family. And this is such a big deal. We've had different activities where we're allowed to bring the families in for a contact visit. To do that, they have to qualify. They have to be able to finish one of our classes, not get write-ups, and be the kind of inmate that shows, hey, this is real to me. I want to change my life. And we've had the children to be able to come in and do a reading event with the sheriff. And so they get fellowship time. Then we pull the mats out, and the sheriff will read a book to the kids. there's a big disconnect with usually the inmates of children and law enforcement. They don't care for law enforcement because he locked my daddy up. He keeps my daddy from me. And you want to have a good relationship with law enforcement. So that's one reason why we do it. The children, we give them books free from Tennessee's Imagination Library. The dads can read to the kids can read to their dad, and it's a great bonding time to try to restore them to their family. It also gives the inmates a stronger desire and a purpose for why you need to let God change your life while you're here. You have a big responsibility to get out. And the sheriff's reading a book about a police dog, and of course, sheriff used to be a canine officer, and it's just a sweet thing. This was a man, he got to see his daughter for the first time in jail at this connection activity and didn't want to let her go. Family able to come in. This is his two children, his sister, and his mom, and just a precious time to spend time. Families together, making decisions, deciding, hey, I want to change. I want to do something different so I can be the kind of father and husband that I need to be for my family. And it's hard. There are tears and things sometimes, but a great connection for the heart. We want to restore them to their family. This is a sweet situation. The man has some lung cancer and he's deaf. He can't hear. And so to be able to talk through the video monitor, he just can't do that. So we were allowed to bring him in and have a meeting with he and his dad. And I don't know if you can see the inmate, tears in his eyes, restoring relationships. The son got to apologize to his dad for the things he's done and hurt and disappointed and accepted, and a hug and restoring relationships. And if you've ever seen or been in a situation like that, it's very, very powerful, very real, and very important to be able to do. Then to restore them to the community. A lot of things we're trying to do. Education is such a big deal. We have had over 80 people graduate. We don't run this ministry total, but we work with them to help them to get the guys there and support them. We've had over 80 people graduate with their GED. It's like, you may not think that's that big a deal, but almost every job out there, the minimum education requirement is a GED, high school diploma equivalency. And so it is easier to get a job if you have a felony than if you don't have a GED. Felony is a big mark, and it's harder to get a job with a felony, but if you don't have a GED, it's even harder to get a job. Add both of those together, we wonder why they can't work, get jobs, and pay their bills and end up back here. So GED graduation is such a big deal, and we've had, like I said, 80 different classes. Sometimes they're a small class, sometimes they're medium, sometimes they're big, and we try to do it big. And we do pomp and circumstance, and they have robes. You can see they have their stripes on underneath it, but it's a big deal for them to be able to finish and graduate something, and to be able to have them and appreciate. This guy here said he had tried forever and no way he would ever pass, and we were able to help him to graduate. And with this, one time I had one guy had just taken the class. We got his results back, and the graduation wasn't for a few weeks, but we wanted him to know that he had finished. So I had his report that came back. It wasn't the official diploma, but I brought it back to him in his pod, and I said, hey, I got some mail for you. And I didn't tell him what it was. He just looked at it and read it. He goes, wow! And he turned around. He goes, thank you. And he turned around and walking back. It was in a big pot, a lot of guys. And I won't say what he said, but you'll get the gist of it. He walking back and said, hey guys, I'm not a dumb. And then he filled in another word. And all the guys in this pot started clapping for him. The whole place just erupted in clapping for him, a sense of accomplishment. I finished something. I'm not dumb. I'm not stupid. And if you've ever been there and imagine how important that is to these guys, it is gigantic. The feeling of accomplishment. They dropped out. They got kicked out. They didn't finish school. You're no good. You're no accountant. You'll never make anything. You'll never amount to anything. And you've heard that so much your whole life. And now they know, I finished. I accomplished something. To restore them back to the community, education is such a big deal and a part of that. And then aftercare, restoring them to the community. We have to help them when they get out. When the guys get out, if they'll let me, I'll take them out for a bite. And this is at Red 7, and this guy just got out and took him out for his first, quote, real food after getting out. These guys are very excited to get to do that. This is a guy that we helped get to a halfway house, and we need more transitional housing in this county. Such a big need. If God touches your heart, we could sure use help for that. See me, call me, talk to me. We'd love to do that. We have to send them out of the county to other parts of the state. He went all the way to East Tennessee, Sevierville, Pigeon Forge for a program, and I took him to the bus station, and as soon as he got out of the car, someone was there trying to sell him drugs. He said, nope, I am done with that. Got on the bus. Some people at the jail thought he would never make it there, but sure enough, he called me from there, say, hey, I'm here. And my family was in East Tennessee a few weeks later, and so we stopped by to see him. This is him in the program, doing great, got to talk to his leaders, and just what a blessing to see, being able to help these guys after they get out. My goal for the guys in the last 20-something years has been two things. Number one, to help make sure they're on the way to heaven, and number two, to help them to get out of jail and never come back. And the aftercare is such a big deal to help them to never come back, to put these things together. When they go to Halfway House, it's a place of hope. We'll go and see them and visit them and check on them. We also have them over to our home. This is our home, and one of the guys we've worked with, and he's now married, and they're expecting. And so we've had many of them to come to our home for a meal and let them know that they're loved and accepted. And you're not an inmate. You're not a felon. You're not a con. You're not a convict. You're a human being and a real person we love, and we want to help you. And then to help them when they get married. This is one of our guys, Patrick. He just he got his GED. He finished classes. We helped him get a job. He's still in that same job a year and a half later, and he got married, met a great girl. They've been married for over a year, and to get him to do the wedding. And I tell the guys to do a free pre-marriage counseling, free wedding, let you use the church, whatever you need. We want to help them when they get out, and what a joy and a blessing to them. Helping them with jobs. There's a guy who's on work release. Now he's since started his own business. Now he's hiring guys who need a job. Super. The guy on the bottom right is now out. We helped him get his GED. We helped him get his CDL while he was incarcerated. Okay, he studied, he did the test, did the books. We took him, he did his driver's test while he was incarcerated, and a partnership with the education and with the chaplain's office, and now he's out driving truck, doing great. Trying to help them, restore them to the community, to be a good, productive member of society. What a big deal that is. And just being a friend to them. This is the barber shop, and it's a grainy picture, but you get the idea. They're doing hair, and I'll go by and talk to them and fellowship with them, and I'm not trying to talk down to them, but just be a friend of them and let them know they're accepted. I'll go by and tell them a joke, and I say, hey, you guys got any good jokes? And they look at me, and I say, all right, my jokes are you can't be racist and it can't be dirty. They said, no, we don't know any of those. I said, all right, I got one for you. So I'll tell them a joke, and especially police jokes. For some reason, they like those. So I'll tell them, yeah, there was this guy, and a businessman, and he just got a big bonus and a raise, and so he always wanted this Mercedes $100,000 car, and he got it cruising down the interstate, and boy, it's going 70, 80, 90. It's just so smooth, just on ice, and 100, 110. He goes, wow, I can't believe this. Sure enough, blue lights. Oh no, what am I going to do? He thought, there's no way that cop car can catch me on this Mercedes. So he now floored it. 120, 130, 140 on the interstate. Finally, he realized, what am I doing? I'm a businessman. I'm running from the police. So he pulls over and waits for the guy. State trooper gets out, comes up and checks out his registration, his license, and everything is good. And he can see he was a businessman. And he said, I'm getting ready to get off work. I don't want paperwork. If you can give me an excuse I've never heard before, I will let you off. And the guy said, well, last week my wife ran off with a state trooper, and I thought it was you and you were trying to bring her back. He said, have a good day. And the guys laugh, and we enjoy fun, laughter, encouragement. These are human beings, okay? They're not animals. They're human beings. 95% who of them are going to get out. And if we don't help them while they're here, then what is that going to do? We need to help them while we have time, while we have them to be able to change their life. Because when they get out, guess what they're going to be? Your neighbor. They're going to be in our communities, and we need to help them. And by the way, it is about the children too. 70% of all the people incarcerated's children will end up in jail. Did you hear that statistic? 70% of all the inmates here, their children will end up in jail. We've got to change that. We had two little boys that we pick up for church, and one of the workers was asking him, hey, what do you want to do when you grow up? He said, I'm going to jail. No, when you grow up, what do you want to do? Where do you want to go? What do you want to be? He goes, I'm going to jail. That's where my daddy is. I want to go to jail. And we can't fathom that, but little boys want to be like their dad, and that's what their dad does. That's what they want to do. We need to change those things for the children, for the next generation. I've been in jail often where we had 3 generations in the same time. Grandfather, son, and grandson, all in the same jail. We need to break that, and we need your help. Last thing, I just want to tell you about a story of changing lives. This is George Witherspoon. George Witherspoon was a guy that I knew 23 years ago when I first started going to the jail. And George had a problem with drugs, and he was bad on them. My son and I were out driving around. We're at the post office, and I heard an alarm go off. And I'm looking around, and I could tell that where the sound was coming from, this building. A couple minutes later, out from behind the building, my son goes, "Dad, who's that? There's a guy walking." And I looked, and it was George, and I knew him. And so I followed him, called on the phone to police, and said, "Hey, here's what's going on." And they said, "All right, let us know where he is." So I'm following behind him and letting the police know what road he's turning on. And then he starts to walk through a yard, and I knew I was going to lose him. So I rolled the window down, and I said, "Hey, George." He goes, "Hey, Pastor Baker." They came up to the window, and I said, "How you doing? You doing okay? Staying out of trouble?" He said, "Yep, I am." So I talked to him for a while, and then the police pulled up behind us, and I said, "Oh, I got to go." And he looked at me with just such hate. And the next day, that was Saturday, the next day, Sunday, I preached in the jail. He cursed me out the whole time I preached. Just hated me. But he got off the drugs. He let God help him. He's been clean for 20 plus years. Started his own business, runs a concrete company, makes last couple of years, $350,000 a year. And he met the sheriff at a men's event at church and said, "Hey, I'd like to come and give back to the jail and help the guys there." And the sheriff let him for a year. He went with me every week. I had to go with him to make sure he was straight and clean and right and doing well, and he is. And he's been a great help and encouragement to the guys, changing lives. That's what we're about. Here's somebody that literally, they named him. He was a toolbox thief. He did so much they had a name for him. And now 20 years has been straight, and now he's coming back and helping other people. That's what this whole thing is about. Restoration Jail Ministry, restoring them to God, restoring them to their family, and restoring them to the community so now they can be a help to help other people. What we need is your help. We need your help. We do not take state funds or county funds or government funds. We're a nonprofit. We're a 501c3, tax-deductible donation. We would love to have your help in this partnership and ministry. If you could give, if you could support, if you'd like to help in some way, please let us know. We would love to have your support. You can click on the link that's at the bottom of this video, and you could donate. We would sure appreciate it. It is all tax deductible, and if there's anything that we can do for you or for someone that you're trying to help, please let us know. And thank you for considering supporting us and the ministry that we've been called to. God bless you, and thank you.